Okay, I'd like to welcome you to Global Product and Gaming Review. Today I'm going to talk about some articles in the news, science, technology. Okay? Now, from Popular Mechanics, before I talk about the article, I do want to let you know this is for review, educational, and informational purposes. This is not to take credit for the article that was written. In fact, this is to give credit to the publisher. This is by Popular Mechanics, and a story by Jackie Apple. Um, just in case there's any questions about this, that Fair Use Act of 1976 gives people the right to do a review of published materials that are in the public domain for purpose of research, review, educational purposes. Okay? So just to get that out of the way, I'm going to say that in every single video, just as a disclaimer, just to make it clear my intention. Also want to tell you the news, and I want to give you my review of the article and some commentary therein. Okay. Now we got this out of the way. Let's talk about this article here. As the headline reads, quantum computers could be truly useful in just 2 years. As you can see, looks like they're observing the machine. And this is something quite powerful. This will be the next leap in computing, from what I understand. A major leap. There's minor leaps like programming different languages. AI is a minor leap. Major would be hardware technology. Okay? Now, here's some major points from the article. IBM has announced a breakthrough in quantum computing that could be useful in the real world. Second point, the experiment successfully filtered out noise from a quantum calculation, which introduces errors into the process. Third main point, while it was simplified, in other words, while it was a simplified test, the success highlights the potential for using error mitigation strategies to make quantum computers practically useful, even before we can learn how to keep them from producing errors in the first place. And that's definitely to be seen, because the first thing I would like to say is that everything depends on the application and the purpose for using it. So who are we doing this for? Are we doing this for people who are data scientists, computer scientists? Who is this for? Or is this for the general public? If it's for the general public, we only see the difference in the speed if we have software and a process to utilize that. Okay? All right, so with that said, let's continue the article. IBM has just announced the successful completion of what it's called a breakthrough. They have it in quotes. Breakthrough experiment in the realm of quantum computing. Using its Eagle processor, the team was reportedly able to simulate the behavior of magnetic material and get actual trustworthy results. The step forward has experts claiming that quantum computers could be truly useful, not just flashy showpieces, on a much shorter timeline than we previously imagined. An article in Nature, which is what they're citing for their source, claimed that the timeline could be as short as 2 years. As Sabrina Masqualo, CEO of quantum computing startup Algorithm Q, told Nature, she said, "These machines are coming." So I guess that means it's going to be released in the public. If I were to interpret in what she's saying by that sentence. If that's the case, if and when we get here, it's going to kickstart a computing revolution. Quantum computing will be able to perform incredibly complex and energy expensive operations with ease that current computers couldn't hope to match. They open with whole avenues of computing potential in a vast array of fields and hopefully answer a lot of questions that we arguably don't even have power to properly ask right now. Okay, so as you know, to get the right answer, you have to ask the right question. First, we want to think about what what are we trying to find out. That's why we start with the right question in mind. We say, okay, we want to find out this. So it's definitely the goal, but the answer is based upon the right question. Get the right answer, the right question. Quantum noise is basically interference and can come from a variety of sources. Everything from interfering radiation to temperature fluctuations. The more noise in a calculation, the more error in the answer. And while quantum bits or qubits are incredibly powerful, they are also temperamental. Anything that can knock them out of the quantum state before the calculation is finished can introduce noise and therefore errors. Ideally, researchers developing these computers want to find ways to actually eliminate the noise before it throws flags by creating what's known as fault tolerant circuits. But until we figure out how to do that, scientists are working on error mitigation strategies. And that's exactly how IBM got their computer to make its breakthrough calculation. The researchers took a look at the noise in their circuits looked like and mapped it out as well as they could. Then once the computer had finished its initial calculation, they were able to go back and subtract the noise from the computer's answer. This allowed the team to generate a final answer in extremely limited, quote, noise pollution, unquote, to a problem that IBM claims is actually real-world useful. Their calculation used all 127 qubits built into the Eagle processor and took up to 60 processing steps. Now this breakthrough isn't quite quantum supremacy, which is the ability of quantum computers to solve problems that regular ones can't. We're mostly not there yet, though Google claimed to have hit a milestone in 2019. And some experts don't think we could ever get there simply through error mitigation. Well, I guess we have to be very specific and clear about what we're referring to by error mitigation. Because if we're talking about trial and error, okay, we make an error, let's correct it. What are the errors? Correct it. That's all well and good, but um, of course, I can't say for 100% in terms of what the full process is, but as a general concept, there is always more than just errors. There's errors and there's the solution. Continuing on, the article says, and even though the quantum benchmark gets a little closer to real world useful than Google's claimed quantum supremacy experiment, the text still only modeled a significant simplified version of the material it was asked to simulate. Simplified tasks are not out of the ordinary for developing new systems, but it's important to contextualize the complexity of what machines are doing. But the breakthrough seems to be a step in the right direction, especially for the short term. In theory, this experiment shows that the promise of the idea of creating a useful quantum computer through error mitigation, even if we can't fully manage true error connection with fault tolerant circuits just yet. It may be a worthwhile stopover for pretty much everybody, including IBM, sets their sights fully on noise-free quantum computing systems. And then they said even a little bit of computing has a potential to really shake things up. What do you think? Do you think this is a worthwhile endeavor? Do you think they're making progress? Let me know in the comments. I do see some small progress, and I think if there's progress, you're doing something meaningful for an overall meaningful goal, I think there's something to be said about usefulness of it, right? So that's our first article I want to tell you guys about. Now, in technology news, I want to talk about a company that makes video cards called a company called Nvidia. You probably have heard of it. They make what's called GPUs or graphical processing units. That's more of a specific term within uh, companies that make graphic cards. The reason why they call it GPU is because it has its own RAM and it actually has its own fan, and sometimes even its own power supply. That's also what I've heard. Okay. But the term they don't use the term graphics cards anymore. They use the term GPUs or graphical processing units. Okay. To reiterate what I said in the first article as I started out, I'm doing a review of the news for educational review uh, purposes, not to take credit for the article. Credit for the article goes to PC World. Okay. Remember something, I do have a right to review this under the Fair Use Act of 1976. I want to reiterate for each article, because I don't want there to be any confusion about what is intended for what my intention is, which is only just to report on the news, to inform people about what is happening in the world of technology, science, and trends. Do you understand? Okay, with that out of the way, the headline reads, Nvidia is using newer, safer power connections on more than RTX 40 series GPUs. So if you take a look here, you can see the connectors. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pin connectors. Okay. Now, continuing on with the article, the saga of the 12-volt HPWR, I believe that's what it is, or 12VP, sorry, 12V HPWR connector is connected to a 12 plus 4 power wheel for its PCIe 5.0 graphics card designs rolls on. As you may recall, the PCI-SIG has been working on a tweaked version of the connection called 12-volt 6x6. Just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Sort of author puts it in the quotes. That addresses some of the apparent issues with the incomplete and potentially unsafe connections. Though the spec is long away from being finalized, some users have been spotted the updated connectors on the Nvidia RTX 4070 cards in the wild, and now you can add the RTX 4090 to the list. So, a Reddit user going by Pack, Prack, Prack? Oh, Prack, which is quotes here. Closely inspecting their new RTX 4090 Founder Edition, the first party version of GPU that was made and sold directly from Nvidia, thinks that they're seeing the shortened connector pins just revealed by Igor's lab. The post spotted by Tom's Hardware isn't exactly scientific, but upon casual examination, sure does look like the pins are shorter than the ones on the standard 12V HPWR connections we've seen over the last year. A small tweak in the physical design means the connection must be fully and securely inserted to assure a safer connection, and the card will presumably fail to power up if it's only partially inserted. The connection has the same 600-watt maximum as the older design. Actual cases of GPUs or power supplies damaged from overheating or melting. 12 VHPWR have been relatively few, but they're frequent and consistent enough to be concerning, especially when the owners are spending $1,000 or more on the latest and greatest graphics cards. So far, Nvidia hasn't said anything about trying out the new updated 12-volt 6x6 design or implementing the software changes that go along with the tweaked hardware. Both third-party cards from manufacturers like Gigabyte or MSI have been spotted with the adjusted connection. As a member of the, and as the author goes on to say, as a member of the PCSIG, it's not surprising that Nvidia would work on the 12-volt 6x6 connector long before it's finalized. But the company must be very confident in its efficacy or extremely concerned about the issues with 12 VHP, sorry, yes, 12 VHPWR if it's already installed in the cards sold in retail customers. Keywords is retail customers. Would you like to weigh in on this article? Any thoughts? Any ideas? You're welcome to put your thoughts or ideas. Just make sure that it's not vulgar, threatening, or profane. Keep it relevant to it. Please don't put any advertising or any religious messages. I want to keep the messages strictly related to this article, okay? I do appreciate that. Now let's talk about the third one, gadgets. Now again, I know I'm being repetitive, but I want to say for each article so there's no confusion from the platform or anybody else watching this. I am doing a review of this article for education and review purposes. I have a right to do that under the Fair Use Act of 1976. My intention is only to report on the news and for people to be informed about what's happening in the world. All the actual content itself, in the original article itself, goes to the publisher, in this case being PC Gamer, and also from the person who typed it up or wrote it by the name of Jacob Ridley. Okay, now getting that out of the way, I'd like to give you the headline for this article. Asus admits that the ROG Ally's micro SD card reader may run into thermal issues. I mean, this is a pretty good-looking console, if I may say so myself. Um, anyway, ROG Ally may run into thermal issues related to the operation of a micro SD card. The handheld device launched last month appears to have a design flaw that means under certain conditions, the micro SD card reader on the device may stop working, Asus said in a statement. And they said, after confirmation from the internal testing under certain thermal stress conditions, the SD card reader may malfunction, an Asus representative said over the Republics of Gamers Discord via Tom's Hardware. And by the way, that's what ROG stands for, is Republic of Gamers. Oh, by the way, I should put in my commentary that when they say it may do something, it means it at least does it at least one time out of X hundreds of whatever. Okay, so it means that it does happen. Okay, it doesn't mean it always happened. It just says may because it obviously happened at least once. Now, continuing on, they said, excuse me. So that was the quote there. They said, continuing on with the article. If you don't own an ROG Ally, or perhaps even if you do, you might have missed what this micro SD issue is all about. Essentially, some micro SD cards are fitted into handheld PCs. Micro SDs at the top of the device are malfunctioning due to the heat given off by the components. The issue tends to show itself as the micro SD card is unable to be mounted or read by the device. While some users are able to recover the card on a PC, others have been reported that their cards are toast ever since the issue arose. Wow, I hope it's under warranty. I'm laughing, but it's not funny. I'm laughing because they say it like they're trying to be smooth and cool, but unfortunately, it's not at all. One user, Telios, on the ROG Ally subreddit Discord said there is a dedicated thread for SD cards. says of the issue, and he says, "Safe to say, readers on mine are hosed." Means that they're out of luck. They have the bad deal. Another user, Backwater Hero, as in one word, said he managed to get the card back up and running with a USB reader, updated, formatted, and renamed XFAT, that's EXFAT in lowercase letters, on the Ally used as SD card reader via a USB. He said everything is showing up again and working. Of course, because you know what's happening is you're using an adapter to do what part of the device would normally do. So that's what it is. You can see a video review, and just like the other two articles, I will put a link in here so you can see the article yourself. You can read through it yourself. You can watch the video. Now, multiple users on Reddit report the turning on of the core isolation of Windows security settings actually got their micro SD card working again on the device, which would hint it is a software issue, despite Asus confirming thermal issues. There may be a myriad of forces at work here, ultimately lead to a frustratingly difficult to diagnose and fix issue. To me, that sounds like uh, there's greater issues in terms of the device at play here. The software sounds like it's not configured right, and it's not doing things the right way. So apparently, and ironically, they don't want to admit it's a software issue from what this article is saying. I mean, that's what I think, according to the information in the article. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we'll see. Anyway, so the clearest remedy to the issue is to use the internal SSD or upgrade the internal SSD to expand the handheld storage instead of buying a micro SD card altogether. Well, there's hardly a fix for those suffering issues already. Asus says that a measure to quote alleviate the issue unquote is on the way in the form of an update that fine tunes the fan curves to improve reliability, which is something YouTuber CPPC Tech has attempted themselves. They've reported no issues with micro SD cards since, but the issue isn't guaranteed to happen on every device, so it's difficult to see if it see this as a conclusive evidence of a fix. If it doesn't work to fix this issue, it is possible Asus would have to revise the design for future models. Excuse me. In the meantime, Asus is offering support to anyone who had an issue with the micro SD card. Bingo, exactly what I just said. It's a design issue. See, they didn't want to immediately come out and say it. I didn't even, I'm just reading this article now. It's a design issue, is what it is. Whether it's through the software, the hardware, or whatever the case may be, that's what it is. It's possible you own the device and haven't run into the issue, though. It's not impacting every ROG Ally as far as we know today, and not every issue will use the microSD slot either. If you're currently running okay or haven't used the slot, it's likely best to hold off on any storage upgrade plans, unless you're looking to replace the internal 2230 SSD altogether with a larger one. Any SSD that's capable on the Steam Deck should go into Sabrent Rocket 2230 and NVMe drives they reviewed earlier in the year. As I mentioned in my previous video, I did talk about NVMe because the price I was talking about in my previous video, they talked about the SSD prices are coming down. And I mentioned that NVMe is the future of SSDs because they're smaller, take up less space. Okay, so that's what I was referring to later. And I guess I was right about that. So, and that's apparently where gaming is headed. I want to talk about one more thing in tech before we finish. And I'm going to say this for every single article, just so they can know I'm referring to every single article. I don't know if it's necessary. Maybe I could just preface it in the future saying all articles are maybe is whatever. But I want to make sure I give credit to the publisher and the author, okay? And I want to let them know that I do have the right, according to Fair Use Act of 1976, to discuss something in the public domain, in to broadcast something in the public domain, okay, for purposes of review, educational purposes, okay, information review or educational purposes, okay. Now, I do want to make it clear that I give credit of this article to the publisher, which is Android Headlines, and to the author Collins Eschite, if I said that right. Now, this is about Google, okay. Top Google AR software executive resigns from the company. Talk about shakeup. I will say that that VR and maybe also AR for the same reason, although it's not the same. AR is basically like 3D projection of an image coming out of a device. um, versus VR is a headset you look into. Actually, I had high hopes for AR, but unfortunately, it's going the same ways of VR, which is that the market is not ready for it, and also that there isn't a demand for it yet. So, from the consumer's point of view, it's like, why should I buy AR if all my production needs and all my computing needs are already met by whatever I have present? So that is the question you have to ask yourself from the customer's point of view. Now, let's start the article. Okay, netizens watch as a top Google AR software executive turns in his resignation letter. The reason behind the decision shows how off course Google might be regarding its AR endeavors. Aside from top executive, other workers at Google's AR department may have similar complaints about the company's attitude towards leadership. Okay. Mark Lukowski, a former top executive working with Google's AR team, has publicly resigned. The expert in the field of AR software and operating systems looks to his Twitter account to announce his retirement. While announcing that he is leaving the company, he is also kind to give the details as to his exit. The reason he gave might bring questions to the mind of netizens looking forward to Google's growth in AR and VR industry. Well, good luck with the VR industry. AR possibly. But apparently the demand is not there. So see how that works? Alright. But it seems the company is struggling to stand on its ground. Mark's exit from Google is proof that the tech giant is barely standing on one foot in the AR and VR industry. I wouldn't say this is the case with AI because that's a growing industry. I just don't see the need for VR and AR and VR, to be quite honest. So again, if there's not a sufficient demand, then putting money into something doesn't magically make things. As the saying goes, if you there's an old saying from what was it, Field of Dreams: if you build it, they will come. Not always true. Anyway, just my 2 cents on the matter. Just my opinion. Okay, so continuing on in the article. The article says, here is what the resignation of one of the Google's top AR software executive proves. Now, this is from the perspective of the publisher and the author. Okay, the exit of Mark Lukowski raises a new set of concerns about Google's plan for the AR and VR industry. Currently, the likes of Meta are topping the games in the industry, while Apple's working to trying to get its fair share. Over the years, fans have anticipated an AR or VR product launch from Google to no avail, and the company's stand in the industry seems to be uncertain. When stating the reason for his resignation, Mark Lukowski points out recent changes at Google's AR department Over the past few months, netizens have seen reports of leadership changes within Google's development ranks. With each change comes a new objective, which might not fall in line with the previous objectives under former leadership. These changes make work quite hard for those working in Google's AR department. Each new AR and XR, I'm not sure what XR stands for, XR tech product in the company announces keeps getting met with Google's unforgiving axe. When I say axe, it means firing or letting go or whatever term you want to use. Now there seems to be a shift in hardware development to a focus on AR software. These changes are very unhealthy for Mark's career and his future in the AR industry. Google is also drawing attention to itself for the wrong reasons, as it fails to get its affairs together concerning AR technology. With the influx of companies to the AR industry, Google might find it hard to catch up if they don't get things in place as soon as possible. Right, so these are the 4 articles. Um, so for next review, which I'm trying to do this 5, 6, or maybe anywhere from 5 to 7 days a week, depending on other things that I'm working on. Because I have other uploads, I have other channels that I'm doing things for. So I've got some more articles, new stuff, and new product reviews. Okay, so it's news, product reviews. It's all under the reviews, basically for reviews and product reviews, news. It's all for educational review purposes, not for anything else. Okay. Of course, I want to share the news that's publicly available in the public domain, which is fair game, and I think it's important for people to be educated. Just like I would like to know what's happening, I want to be informed. I think everybody else who's interested in that should be informed as well. So that's the purpose. What I'd like to conclude is thank you for watching my presentation about these articles. Okay. Please sorry, tongue twisted. Please click like below the video. You see a like, please click on that. Please click subscribe if you haven't already. And also please click the bell, so just in case you don't know about subscribe. That's so you get access to all the videos. Please click on the bell, just in case you haven't, to be notified when my new videos come out. In the future, I will have a subscription, or actually a membership in this case would be the correct term, for premium content, meaning for live stream things, for explanations about new things, more in depth, okay, more explanations about certain things that are in the news. So primarily my purpose is to inform, give my commentary and review about it with my opinion. And this is where I'd like to ask you what your opinion is about it. Please make sure this is respectful, relevant, not derogatory, and nothing that's inappropriate for comments. If you didn't like the article, or you did like the article, I'd like to know. Please be respectful, okay? Of course, I'm always looking to serve the audience with videos. Videos that include, uh, news articles that people would like to know. So, I'd like to thank you for watching the video, and we'll have a video tomorrow. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time.